Hello, I'm going to show you now how to do a validation rule which allows you to add a drop-down box to a cell or a set of cells within Excel. So let's say in my transactions list in the item column, I only want to allow the user to be able to pick items that are available in the price list. So rather than them being able to just come along and type in, say, tikka or pizza, I want them to only be able to pick items within that list. How I do this is I drag over the cells that I want to, shall we say, restrict this ability to. So let's say I only want people within cells 5 to 14 to be able to pick those items from the price list. Highlight over there, I go to data, and then in my data tab, I've got a button here which it's kind of got like a tick and a circle with a line through it. If your screen is a little bit wider than mine, it will actually say the word data validation next to it. So once I'm ready, click onto there and it'll pop this screen up. Now there are three main tabs to this screen, which I'm going to concentrate first of all on the first. Now at the moment it says allow any value. That means there's no restriction because this is the point of validation. We're kind of restricting what people can do. So if I want to make this a drop down box, I pop the arrow down. There's a whole host of different ways we can do this within validation, but I'm going to choose list, this is giving us the ability to do a drop down list. So I pop that down, click list, and then towards the bottom you'll see there's an option here called source. Now in the source box, if I don't want to base my drop down box on something that exists in the spreadsheet, I can actually just type items in and separate it by a comma. So if it was something very simple like a yes, no, maybe kind of question, or we want to put in here, I don't know, good, okay, and maybe bad, can you see you could just simply type the options you want separated by a comma, and then when we click OK, that drop down box, can you see, has whatever I've put in there that was separated out by a comma. But I'm going to leave that re-highlighted and go back to data validation. Instead of actually typing what you want in there as an option, you can pick over the area that contains the data that you want to be in the drop-down box, and whatever's in that area will then populate the drop-down list for you. Now, I've picked something on the same sheet, but you could quite easily go to another tab in the same workbook and pick something from an area in another tab. But once I'm ready, if I now click OK, if I go to any one of these items and drop the box down, can you see everything that was in that price list is now an option? And if I try and type something which isn't in that price list, can you see it comes up with an error? This value does not match the data validation, yada, yada, yada. So that's saying we can't actually pick anything or type something which isn't in that price list. And if I hit retry and try and type in, let's go for chips, again, it comes up saying you can't do that. And if I click cancel, can you see it reverts back? So it's quite restrictive, this by default. Let's say we add something new. So let's say chips goes in as an option and pizza goes in as an option as well. If we now pop that arrow down, can you see they are not in there as an option? So if we want to be able to edit this, I click onto one of the cells that contains the validation rule I'd like to edit. I'm going to click onto data validation just here. Now when you edit a validation rule, it's really, really important before you make any changes, you tick this little box down here called apply these changes to all other cells with the same settings, because what that does, that gets Excel to pick up all of those cells so that any change you now make applies to everything that validation rule is on. So if I wanted to, I could now come along and expand. Can you see what I want to base that validation rule on? So now when I click OK again, pop the arrow down, can you see it also includes the chips and the pizza? A couple of other little things that this has up its sleeve. If I click back onto one of my cells, click onto data validation, make sure I tick this because I want to do a change and I want that change to apply to all of these cells. Beyond the settings tab, I have input message and I also have error alert. Input message is whereby I can actually put in, shall we say, a little post-it note which is going to tell me what is expected to be entered into that cell. An error alert is where I can put a message that will appear when there's a problem with, what the user's trying to put in. So in input message, I'm going to quickly do a little bit of typing here. So I'll call this input message. The title goes at the top, and the input message, can you see this box? That's going to go in the main area of the pop-up that appears. So let's put something like here to help. God, if I could type. You must select from the drop down list. Okay, so can you see that sort of giving people a bit of guidance? You could even put something in there like, if the item isn't in the drop down box, please add it to the price list, so it kind of tells them how to solve it. And then error alert, I'm going to put in a error alert. You put maybe your company name or something about your spreadsheet or whatever it might well be. Here we go. You try to enter something not in the price list. Please try again. So can you see this is what's going to come up when there's a problem? So input message is sort of the prompt to get it right. Error alert is when it goes wrong. So now when I click OK, can you see the input message appears? So it's giving me a bit of an aid memoir, a bit of a description of what to do to get it right. And if I try and type something in that isn't in that list, so I don't know, let's just put in there veg, and then press enter. Can you see it comes up saying you tried to enter something not in the price list, please try again. And it still behaves in the same way, very restrictive, but it just makes it a bit easier for the user to kind of understand why there is a problem, what the issue is with that particular, entry. So that is a bit about how to use data validation to create a drop-down box within an Excel file.